Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I'm very excited for today's project. It's going to take me a long time and I have been working a lot, but I took 2 weeks off for the summer, so I'm very excited to just carve that time out for some relaxation and art. But today I'm going to be making a blob board game. If you do not know what blobs are, it is the amazing creature Moriah Elizabeth created. She has these little clay figures and they are just so precious. I have made a few blobs myself. I made Fern, the artist blob. Snapchat. Made Fern, the artist blob, Gabriel with the frog on his head, and the no-name blob for my mom with the flower. She still has not come up with a name for it yet. So I am so excited to do this blob board game. I'm gonna make like many little blob figures. I'm so excited. I do not know what I want the goal of the game to be yet, because I don't want it to be like the Squishmallow board game that I made a few years back, where I just did kind of, well, that was actually really in-depth, that game. I did good on that. But I don't want it to be like another Candyland type thing where it's like, go to the purple square, go to the orange square. I want to do something else, something fun, something blobby. So I'm going to be watching a lot of Moriah Elizabeth blob videos while I make this to kind of get some inspiration. I'm doing something I have never done before, so stay till the end of this mini series of me making this blob board game, because I have a very exciting announcement that hopefully you guys will be excited for too. I don't have a big following, so this will be very special. I do have to go to Walmart. Should I go to Walmart or Michael's? I have a gift card for Walmart.
So this is going to require a lot of planning. Okay, so first I started out by writing my plan, and I wrote everything out. I had the logistics, the basics planned of the board game, and then I realized that I do not want to write all this without a base, so I did make a create your own board game packet, which I then made copies of because I do plan on making more board games in the future. So this is the gorgeous long packet that goes into the logistics of planning.
Okay. I know I'm in my closet, but it's the only quiet space I have right now. So I am done planning the board game for today. I've done a lot of writing and planning. These are my first 3 blob designs. Quick sneak peek. Okay. I will explain the characters and the rules and all that stuff. I am going to finish planning off camera because I feel like that's probably not as interesting to watch, but I will be explaining all of this to you. But I also will have a timestamp on the bottom of how far I had to skip if you do not want to hear all the rules and if you don't want to hear about the blobs, which is messed up. That's it for today, and I'll see you in the next clip.
So before I continue with this voiceover, I do want to say this video is very beginner heavy. Like, we did all of the planning for the board game. We did planned the board, painted the board, which is what I'm getting ready to do now. I'm gessoing the board, but there's just a lot that goes into part 1, because the other parts are going to be like making the cards and doing the rule book. They're going to be not quicker, so to say, but not as paint heavy as this part 1 is. So after the board was gessoed, I took some painter's tape and just kind of mapped out the trail I wanted the blobs to take on this board game. And then I took some custom paint colors, which is some light purple and light pink, because I wanted a nice fun background. And just similarly, I did the same pattern that I did in my closet. If you saw my bedroom makeover, I just took the sponge and just dotted the paint on and went back and forth from pink to purple. This is when disaster happens. Oh my God, it is painful to watch it again. The paint spilled all over the floor. I didn't show you that, but oh my gosh, it was a disaster. It got all over this wooden cart I was propping my tripod on that you could see on the bottom left corner. But anyway, we're going to move on from that and peel this tape off. This was my favorite strategy that I did because it really helped me when I went to go plan out how big I wanted the spaces to be for the blobs, because I wanted the blobs to sit nicely on them and not be too big. So I also had to keep that in mind when I was constructing the blobs and not make them too big. So I made a template just out of painter's tape, and I went around my painter's tape line that I did on my board and made sure that they were all even. Once I made those little marks, I went around the entire board and connected those dots. This was very important because I wanted it to be the same all the way around. In my other board game, I did do a template, but I really do like this method better just because it helped me more and the template wasn't so bulky. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but I'm not a voiceover person, okay? Then I took this little template made from painter's tape also. This board game is called Blob Party, and the whole purpose of the board game is to get the blobs to the blob party on time, and if they're on time, then they are in first place. So I wanted to add this little banner that said start and finish, and then I just added little illustrations of blobs, and we have this little funky blob losing the balloon. But I have all these little illustrations just so the board game isn't so bare and seems fun. Okay, this part didn't really make sense. I was trying to measure how long the board game was to see how many even squares I could get. Then I just realized that I wanted each square to be 1.5 inches. So I measured that all the way around the board game, and then I did extend the board game a little bit just so that each square could be 1.5 inches, because I wanted some sameness throughout the whole board game, because if they're all the same size, then it won't look so messy. Now we are going to construct the blobs, and I'm so excited because we're going to be getting closer to the painting, which is what I'm most excited for, because giving them color and giving them accessories, that is what gives the blobs their personality. So here I'm constructing the blobs. I swear I had like a brain fart on how to construct a blob because some blobs look weird. This one is perfect. I love the way the arms are placed and I love the way the legs look, but some of them, they look like their legs are straight out and their arms are straight out, and it just looks so strange. But then I realized that I could have put the arm facing up and down, aka vertically, and then the legs horizontally, and then that would have looked better, but they were already dried and gessoed by the time I realized that. So here I am constructing Lou. I'm doing his face, getting his eyes ready to put his little eyeballs in. I'm adding a tongue, and I wanted to add the tongue, and I thought it would be cute, so I put it on because a blob with the tongue, it's adorable. And then I'm just going to keep repeating this process until I have made all 6 of my playing pieces, until I have made all 6 blobs. And here are the first 3. We've got Lou, and then we've got, oh god, I can't remember their names. I know that the smart one is Archie. I think the middle one is Polly. I'm not sure. But here are all of the blobs completed. We've got the workout blob, we've got Barry with the bees, and then I just constructed all of them. They are done, they are dry, they are gessoed. Now is the fun part when we get to paint them and add the color. So I am painting the eyes on. This part is honestly really stressful because you don't want to mess up the black and have it on an eye. Here I am telling you that I only added 2 spots for paint, and I realized that in my original design for Lou, there were more paint blobs, so I added more paint blobs and then set him aside to dry while I worked on the other blobs, and then we'll go back to Lou and add more colors on him because he's an artist blob. He's a messy artist blob. He's got paint blobs all over him. Now I am working on the bee blob, and she's got her little bees all over her, so I'm just painting her a nice light yellow. Here are the first 3 complete. I did not record painting the workout blob. I don't know why. I just didn't. But there he is. He looks so cute. He's holding a weight that is 10 ounces because there is 16 ounces in 1 pound, I think, right? And he's a strong blob, so he can't carry a whole pound, but he can carry 10 ounces. And here I am working on the rainbow blob, and because this project is inspired by Moriah Elizabeth herself, I wanted to use her paint some way in this project, so I am using her paint as the rainbow of this blob. and I really love the way that it came out, because even before you add a coat of gesso or shiny clear varnish on top, the paint dries shiny and I love it. And then I added some gold accents to make it seem more fun, and I really love the way this blob came out. She is so cute. Now we're going to be focusing our attention on Archie. Archie? Not Archie. Archie. He's the smart blob. His glasses were a little functified, and I do know that, but once you put the paint on, you can't really tell. But I took some silver paint because I wanted to add the silver accents on his clipboard, but something really annoying happened with the clipboard, which is going to happen in a few seconds. But when I was painting the clipboard and like it was drying, it started to lift and break off, and I got so nervous. I was like, how am I gonna fix this? And then I'm like, oh, Jamie, there's this thing called glue, and it's been proven to work pretty well. So yeah, here is it. Here it is, lifting out. So I just blobbed on a bunch of craft glue, not Mod Podge, craft glue, and then I just set that aside to dry, and it doesn't look amazing, but at least it didn't fall off. It stayed on there pretty well. I'm adding Archie's eyes, and he looks so cute. His little notes and his bow tie. I love Archie. Okay, now hold up. Put your hands up. You don't have to put your hands up. I don't know why I said that, but we are going to start working on the Baker blob. I am so excited. This is Chet. Okay, C-H-E-T-T, and he is a Baker blob with his little whisk that I made from wire that I am so incredibly proud of. It is so cute. Looks like a mini whisk. I'm painting him this light brown color, and the reason I love Chet is because once I paint the batter that's on his tongue and on his apron, and then I connected his apron to the back, which you'll see shortly, that just made me love him even more. Okay, I painted his tongue a light pink, and then I realized that looked weird, so I painted it darker pink, and I think it looks much better. And as you can see, there's a little blob on his tongue. That is the batter. So I'm going to start painting the batter once I paint his apron, because I don't want to worry about trying to paint around the batter with red, because red is a very vibrant color. But now we're starting on the batter, and I did do 2 coats of the batter base, but then I added some little brown dots to be chocolate chips, and that is what made it. I'm not even kidding, it is so cute. But as that is drying, I'm working on connecting the apron to the back, and it is so precious because I made it to look like a little bow. So once it was painted, it looks like Chet tied his apron in the back in a little bow, and he really looks like a cute little Baker blob. I just love the way this one came out, and once you add that shiny coat, once you see the shiny coat on all of the blobs, you'll be like, wow, it looks like just so much better. And here are all of the blobs. They are all complete. You can see why Chet is my favorite. Archie's my second favorite. But now is kind of the boring part. We're going to do the presents real quick. I'm just going to paint them purple. I haven't really explained in depth the meaning of these presents, but once I'm going to have a whole separate video explaining the rules of the game, so that way if you're not really that interested, you don't have to worry about skipping the video to a certain part where you just see me doing the artsy crafty stuff. But yeah, now I'm just making the presents. I glued the ribbon onto it because I didn't want it to fall off, and then I just did little bows just like I'm wrapping a regular present. And these turned out really cute. I'm not a huge giant fan of them, but they are still a part of the board game, so I did still have to make them. It was actually kind of tricky to get them to be flat presents. I had to keep adding some puffy paint to make them as flat as possible and still aren't crazy flat, but that's fine. So the blobs are done. The blobs are shiny. You will see them at the end of the video, but do not skip. Do not skip. We are going to make the blob's home now. So I bought this box from Michael's. Now, these are just going to be where the blobs rest when the game is not being played, because I don't want them to get ruined because they are handmade and they are fragile. So I'm going to go ahead and tape it off because I did want to do a blendy rainbow vibe, again, inspired by Moriah Elizabeth herself, since this project is inspired by her. And I wanted to tape it off so that way I could paint the center purple. And the purple I wanted to use was, of course, Bumble Bear Light Purple by Moriah Elizabeth. So I went ahead and put that on and painted that on, but something really strange happened with this paint. And I was honestly really disappointed because I love Moriah, I love supporting her, and I love this paintbrush. But as I peeled the tape off, the paint literally peeled off with the tape. Look at it. That's weird, right? So I just went ahead and peeled off all of that. I got off as much as I could. As you can see, it was a disaster. So then I just painted the whole thing a regular purple using Craft Smart, my OG original acrylic paint. And then I did 2 coats of that to let that dry. Then I went over it with tape to start my blendy rainbow. I wanted it to be about a 1/2 inch all the way around, but I did not feel comfortable using Moriah Elizabeth's paint, especially to deal with tape. It worked really well on the rainbow blob, but I don't think it works well with tape because then it would peel up with it. So I just stuck with my acrylic paint that I used for my bedroom makeover. So I had to give that a mix because it's been a little while since I've used it. The green actually was getting thick on me, so I had to add some water. But honestly, this blendy rainbow, I am so proud of myself. It turned out really good. Not the first coat, not the coat I'm doing right now, but look at that. Oh my God, it is gorgeous. Now this paint worked really well. Obviously it's acrylic paint, but the tape worked really nicely. Of course, there were some edges that I had to touch up because I was impatient and didn't wait a full 30 minutes for the acrylic paint to like really dry, so I had to do some touch-ups. Oh yeah, this is where my power went out and I wanted to try to continue to paint, but then I realized that didn't work, so I just put it aside. Here are the blobbies. They look so cute. Don't worry, you'll get a better look at them at the end of the video. But I just put a thick coat of matte Mod Podge on their booties and letting them dry on their back. Then I took this fabric because we're going back to working on the box. I ironed it so it would be nice and flat because my plan for this fabric is I want to put it in the top of the lid. So first I painted around the edges with a different shade of purple. I didn't want to introduce another color at this point because I wanted the front of the box, the top of the box, to stand out the most with the blendy rainbow. So I love projects like this because as I am doing the project, I'm coming up with methods to, make it work. So I just made my own template to fit within the box, and I used some paper to kind of measure out what would fit. So I cut the fabric to fit inside the box. Now I got this cotton bedding that I wanted to add on the inside, the bottom, for the blobs to rest on, because even though this is going to be like the base, I'm also going to be adding some polyfill stuffing within that so that the blobs can lay on that. But I'll get into that in a minute. Right now I'm just laying the fabric on, and I want to make sure that it is super secure, so I'm going to add some extra Mod Podge on top and really set that in. And this looks really professional. Like if I wasn't lazy and did an extra coat of that bright purple on the inside, it would have looked really nice. I mean, it still looks nice, but you know what I mean. So now I'm adding some glue on the inside and adding some polyfill. The glue I know probably didn't do all that much, but this is where the blobs rest. And I was like, okay, this is not secure enough because there's still more than an inch, almost 2 inches of space. What if the box gets thrown around a little bit? Not that it will, but when you're moving. So I decided to make a little piece that would stick on top. So I covered this thin piece of cardboard in the same fabric as I put on the inside. And then I had this extra little tack. It's just a pin that you put on a cork board, and I wanted that to be like the little handle. So I poked that through, and it looked so cute, and then I secured it with some hot glue so that it would stay in place. I added some Mod Podge and added some more polyfill, and this, I put this here to kind of help it dry as it would be flat, but it lays on top. You see? How clever is that? I am so proud of myself for coming up with that. So now the box is done for now. I am going to be adding the name of the board game on the top of the box, and I'm going to be saying, so like Blob Party Playing Pieces. But I'm going to be doing that towards the end because I don't really know the style of Blob Party that I want it to look. I want it to be uniform, so I'm just going to wait on that. But here are my little blobbies. I love them so much. They turned out so good. They look even better with that clear varnish coat on top. Oh, look at Archie. He's so cute. I'm so glad that it worked out with the clipboard. I got nervous there for a second. And then here's my favorite, Chet. Look at that little bow in the back. It turned out so cute. I am so incredibly proud of my blobs and the box and just part one, having the box done, having the board game base done, and in part two, we will dive deeper into the board game. Thanks for watching.